Hi there.
Hello.
Would you like to intro us, Frank?
Okay. Hello. This is a completely inappropriate podcast. I am Frank, along with my pointy nipples and my co-host
Tony. you're doing everything you can to make that a thing.
Not really. It's just something I had in my back pocket. So, yeah.
Not your front shirt pocket.
No.
Isn't that typically where the nipples are located?
Yeah. But this was quick at the draw. So, yeah.
Well, Frank, how you doing, man?
I'm okay.
We've had a bit of an interesting week. If death is interesting to you, I guess. No, we had a former podcast buddy guest on. Some of y'all remember him as the Army Special Forces. Frank, why don't you tell us who he was?
Yeah. So our guest, Santiago War, as I used to call him. Guess what his last name was?
War?
Yeah, but in Spanish. So yeah, the guy, I don't know exactly what happened, but he had a heart attack and didn't make it. And I was just floored when I got the news, because I'm like, I don't know what to say. I immediately thought, oh shit, Tony wanted him back on.
Yeah, he was really one of my favorite people we had ever had on the podcast. I've been bugging you to hit him up and hit a couple different, not just him. So it's been trying to get Will back on and stuff, but yeah, when you told me, I was like, fuck, man, I was so disappointed. Like, he couldn't have waited a few more days, made it here 1 week. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I know I get inappropriate with death. Disappointing, man. He was such a beautiful fucking guy, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, I only knew him for a 2-hour conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But how many people do you know in life that you've only talked to for 5 minutes at a time? You know, you don't learn as much about anybody when you know it's c'est la vie, man. Thus is life, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you know about our buddy, man? How long did you know him personally?
I knew him for a few months, because Rob met him through
The VA?
close, but through
Other means.
Other means, yeah, and related to the VA. And one of those days, he was like, "Fuck it, let's party," and he invited people over, and Santiago's one of them. And the guy loved having me around because he was always laughing his ass off when I was around.
Yeah.
And he told me that there's something about me that brings that out in him, where, you know, I give him the giggles.
You're a bubbly guy. So is he. He was very, very giggly.
Yeah.
He was always looking for the funny little joke, just a little bit of humor that he could pull out of anything. That's what I got from a 2-hour fucking experience with the man. So, yeah.
And he was always so polite, because, like, fuck the Marines,
so
I'm sorry.
polite. So polite. Yeah, fuck the Marines. No, but I'm just kidding, man. You know that we worked really well together. We were always... He's such a sweetheart, dude. Like, even when he was ribbing you, he was hugging you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that inspired some questions. I thought you wanted to talk a little bit about what. So what do you think? So is he an angel now? Is he one of the archangels that's fighting the demons? I guess I'd never understood the whole.
Well, apparently
God
there was a
War stuff.
Marine that died and came back, and he made a sign, and it circled, and someone took a picture of it, and it circled the internet. He was saying, "Don't go to heaven. It's just Firewatch. It sucks."
It's just Firewatch. Firewatch being
when you see a Marine just standing there observing. You know, it's guard duty, what it is. But yeah, so I don't know.
There's nothing to do. You're just standing around all day.
Yeah, just being vigilant and observing things, writing shit down.
Good.
Like, oh, this is
Good
what happened.
fun. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, because this whole religion thing, like then the afterlife, like you don't really know until it happens to you. But then again, how are you gonna know if you're not? So then there's the I believe in the whole conscious being thing. You know how fucking because energy cannot be destroyed; it can only be transferred, right? And so then our energy has to go somewhere when we die.
So what you're saying is all we are is dust in the wind, dude.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, with him being Christian, I'm sure he's with his God now. I'm sure he's an angel, maybe a guardian angel to put all that spec ops to good use.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they'd have him be like a cherubin, little baby angel thing, so that he can live an antithetical happy life to the shit he had to deal with. Like, dude, you don't think he did enough? He's gotta go keep fighting after death. Nah, he's sitting on a hammock next to Bob Marley or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know, man. I don't know what happens. I think we're all just fucking dust in the wind, dude. I just don't see anything more than that. I think everything's been able to be explained through science, and as far as we know, or the theory right now is that you fucking have a release of DMT at the moment of death, and it lets you see and speak to God the same way, like if you did dimethyltryptamine, by smoking it here in the room, it's the same experience, just at the moment of death.
Yeah, there was a show on, I think it was Discovery.
From the pineal gland.
Yeah, and what it was it was a bunch of people talking about the people that died and came back, talking about their experience while they were dead. And they all had trippy visions, but everyone's was different. Not one was the same. So I think, at least, that solidifies the the fact that we drip fucking hallucinogens in our brain when we die.
Yeah, well, DMT and all these other, your blah blah and the blah blah, all these things are produced naturally in the body. The reason these drugs affect us is because it's increasing and decreasing these certain chemical exchanges within the body. Like, so they assume that DMT is produced in the pineal gland, which is where the third eye is located in Indian culture and other cultures. So that's why I'm saying they know that it happens in mice, for instance, where at the moment of death there's a release of dimethyltryptamine within the rat's brain. So that's just what I tend to believe in science, man. Call me a fool.
Did you know, this will make a great segue, that our body releases cannabinoids after orgasm?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Because, the body wants it to feel
even during
rewarding.
Yeah, like even like in the throes of when you're deep into it, it's a very high intoxicating feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, because the body wants it to feel rewarding for you.
You're dripping serotonin.
The race can survive.
Yeah.
The species, I should say, because right now race is a very delicate word.
Yeah, because if sex wasn't pleasurable and it was just work, it really is work. As Americans anyway, we barely want to exercise as it is in a general sense. So could you imagine if like you weren't even in the mood, but you didn't have that like greedy just want for that release of endorphins that you get after sex or during sex.
Yeah.
If that benefit wasn't there and you were just working out with your partner, like most people don't even want to go to the gym with their partner if they do go to the gym all the time, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's important, this chemical fucking drip of drugs within ourselves.
Yeah. Because I was doing some research for sex and cannabis, or
Sex and
cannabis and
cannabis?
sex. Yes, and my God, was this frustrating? Because as we all know, studies change, or I should say, because I have to be specific around you. The results of studies change over time. So then, like for instance, it was that
Well, studies compound, yeah, so that what you thought was true over here, given another 100 repeats of that study, it ends up flowing the other way with the results.
yeah, and then with the whole cannabis being mostly illegal, it's limited. So then they have to depend on surveys.
Although,
and
if
not
they
everyone-
really wanted to, they could make up a lot of ground. It's not like there's a shortage of people that want to study cannabis. You know what I mean? Like everybody and their mom loves their fucking weed now.
yeah,
Like everybody. It's weird. If I wasn't afraid of pissing off certain people that I know, I would expose some. All right, so I was so I was golfing with some buddies of mine. No, I can't tell the story. Never mind.
do you think it's a generational thing? Like fucking since our parents
No.
were all against weed.
No, it's an exposure thing.
then-
It's a propaganda thing. It's just whatever the doctors just like I just said, I trust the science.
Mhm.
Well, if the science is being paid off and lying to me, I'm duped. Like that's my bad. That's my blunder. That's my fucking.
Yeah, 'cause you didn't research deep enough.
Because I didn't research deep enough. Exactly. It's like when they tell you that eating too many eggs are bad for you. Now eating eggs is good for you. Now don't eat the yellow part. You know, like at what point are they just full of shit? Like when was pasta and wheat and all this shit was supposed to be the best thing for us to eat, and now we know it's just empty calories and fucking shit that causes inflammation. And unless you're eating 0-0 pasta from Italy, like directly from the motherland, is like and that's gonna change in another 5 years. They're gonna say no, actually that one caused corona. You know what I mean? Like who the fuck do you trust now? Like trust your own fucking experience. That's all you can do. Like when people talk about relationships and shit, like how can you just blanket statement like, oh, all relationships just need better communication? And like, well, what if some people were just really, really like annoyed with talking all the time? Like you've seen happy couples that have been together 50, 60 years. By the time they're in their 80s, they're fucking looking at each other like, hungry? Yeah. Okay. And then they go get food. They come back, are like, tired? Yeah. Okay. They go to bed. They wake up happy. Good morning. Good morning. Breakfast? Yeah. Okay. Like, some people just live better lives that way. So to say that all a relationship needs is communication, or all a relationship needs is like proper sex, like what if one guy had fucking testicular cancer and had a botched surgery and all fucking went to shit, can't get it up now, which isn't how it works, by the way. The testicles have nothing to do with an erection. Which also, by the way, I learned on another podcast the other day that testicles don't produce the seminal fluid. They only produce testosterone and the semen itself. The seminal fluid actually comes from the male prostate. Did you know that?
Makes sense.
Yeah. The fluid itself, the bulk of the fluid, all the jizz itself actually comes through the prostate, which is why the massaging the prostate during an orgasm can feel really good, because you're pumping the source of the cum.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The more you learn. We're gonna put that on the banner. Oh, by the way, for those of you watching this, just to take a little break from this really weird tangent we've found ourselves in, we're trying new mood lighting. What do you think, Frank? How do you like this?
I think
It's a little more natural.
Yeah, but I don't think our glasses are helping.
I was gonna say, look, everybody could see what's on the screen.
Yeah,
through my glasses right now. It's kind of cute.
Yeah,
we'll figure out the angles later.
Mm-hmm.
The MySpace angles.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember MySpace angles?
Angles?
Yeah, the MySpace angles. It was the beginning of selfies.
Oh, that.
Back when you still couldn't see yourself on your screen when you were taking pictures, but you knew that if you held it up and to the right, or like under you, looking down, like there were certain angles where you just kind of always look slim or like bulk hooked up. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
MySpace angles, bro. You had to be careful when you hooked up with girls on MySpace because a lot of them, you had to make sure they weren't all just MySpace angles. You needed a full body shot from a friend from further back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got around to all that because I was busy in the military.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm like, oh, I learned something new about
Did you ever
MySpace.
did you ever find an opportunity to get laid in the military?
Of course.
Really? When you were
Yeah.
actually deployed? When did you have...
Oh, wow. When I was in Iraq. No, did I tell the story? I did tell the story. How I almost got married in Iraq. But no, not in Iraq.
No, you
but
didn't.
fucking-
Because a woman came up to you asking you to marry her
to
daughter.
choose
doesn't mean
one
that-
of his fucking... I'm like, no,
It
no.
didn't mean that you were almost married. Like, if you were, like, held by fucking shotgun walking down the aisle and then your buddies pulled you out in the last second, then I'd say, yeah, you almost got married. What you did was just fucking disappoint a family. Like, but you fucking turd. Yeah, dude, I was almost married once. Yeah, as much as fucking Michael Jackson was almost straight that fucking few years.
But, what was I telling you?
I don't know.
Yeah, man, deployments. That's when shit got real fucking crazy. I don't like using that term, but yeah.
Crazy?
Yeah, because once you're in, everyone will tell you, oh my God, Australia, oh my God. How women go crazy over Americans because the Australian guys treat their women like shit.
Is that true?
And not entirely, no.
I imagine there's areas,
Yeah.
just like any other place. Like,
yeah.
you go to certain fucking cities, the men are going to be just as fucking problematic with their women.
Mm-hmm.
Then right outside that city, you got a whole fucking suburb of gentlemanly, scholarly persons.
Yeah, so then...
I don't know, man.
What
are we even doing here?
Rumor that flies around, and I'm saying rumor because I was in Australia and I never saw it. Maybe it was a different port in Australia, but yeah, that when the ship is docking in, usually there's Marines and sailors standing all around it at parade rest for what? I don't know. If it doesn't make sense, it makes military sense. And that women will throw tennis balls at the boat with their numbers in it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And so it gets every young buck excited for Australia. Like, oh my, Australia. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Can't wait for Australia.
But there's got to be other stories. There's got to be other places where there's stories like that.
Yeah, well, that one stuck to me because...
Did you go to Australia?
Yeah, because I went to Australia. And
Oh, that's right. Don't you have a friend who listens to us from Australia? I see that pop up every other episode.
Yeah.
Or get a download or two.
Yeah.
Who dat? Hey, Aussies. It's a pleasure. Not gonna try and do your accent. I won't disappoint you that way. I'm gonna try real hard to not do accents anymore. Unless you're Texan. I might do a Texas accent every once in a while. Which I was discussing this with my sister yesterday. Like, no, you know, the Rio Grande Valley, this particular area, we don't really have accents in that capacity. Like, everybody thinks that because we're down here brown, that we all talk like we're from Odessa or something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like more West Texas or something.
Yeah. We have that thick Tex-Mex accent, which apparently is different from the Cali-Mex.
I don't know. I
accent.
don't hear a fucking accent from anybody around here.
Well, no, because
we grew up here. Yeah, no, I know. Like, but there are. Everybody talks like the people on TV to me. You know what I mean? Like, we all watch fucking TV. Everybody grew up with it. We all listen to the same accents. So now the whole fucking United States just sounds the same. For the most part. Even the people that are from there, by the time people are like 19, 20 years old and they move away from their like little city or little community, they're like, oh, I tried real hard to get rid of that accent. Every once in a while it slips back in. Like, you hear that all the time.
But you've traveled, haven't you?
Not really. Not outside of Texas.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Ohio for a weekend to fuck a girl that I
Yeah.
talked to for a dozen years.
You didn't really
online.
go out because you were like...
No. We
indoors.
spent pretty much the
Yeah.
3 days in the hotel.
Yeah. Probably what you need. You need to experience the rest of the country.
But
So you
why?
can start hearing...
But why
the
am I worried
accent
about
down
it?
here. Well, I'm not saying you're worried about it. I'm
I
saying...
feel so fucking disappointing to like people when they hear me talk about like traveling. I kind of want to move. I wouldn't mind moving to San Antonio. I think I got a line on a job in San Antonio if I wanted it. But I would have to move
Discuss
there.
it with, oh.
No, I just have to. Well, I gotta wait till after the wedding so we can get some bank for the fucking move, and then yeah, we'd be able to go. Probably February, March next year. But you'd have to move with me. If you cleared up by then, would you be willing to move to San Antonio?
Yeah, that's
I
what
might
I'm
be able to get
thinking.
you a job too.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, whatever my response is, I gotta wait to see what happens with fucking
Probation.
Yeah, if not, we can continue the fucking podcast through Skype.
Skype. That's what everybody's doing now anyway. Everybody's
Yeah.
all scared to go around anywhere. Or
Yeah.
they're legally not allowed to.
Because apparently we won't have a functional vaccine till late next year.
Well, yeah,
December.
any vaccine that comes out, you can't rush it. The trials take at least 16 to 18 months, I think, is what I heard.
Yeah. Yeah, that our fastest vaccine developed was... shit, what was it? Polio?
Polio.
I think it was polio. Yeah. And it took 4 years. And we're fucking digging up a fucking vaccine in 1 year? Yeah. Okay.
Well, hey, this podcast has been a little bit of everywhere, but you have notes. Do you want to try and get us back on track?
I
Have
do.
an actual
Well, I
structured
mentioned the whole-
conversation?
Yeah, I mentioned the whole fucking sex and cannabis thing. And it was really... I had structured it.
Sex and cannabis.
Yeah, because I had structured it to where, okay, this topic is going to lead to the sex and cannabis. But I guess we're doing it all fucking
Oh, I
back
don't know.
afterwards.
I just asked you what you wanted to talk about. You're
Right.
going bass backwards.
Yeah, okay. So...
You don't have to. Go in your order. I don't
Yeah, I
care.
was looking for what the fuck to talk about. And I stumbled onto a topic, young couples and marriage. Well, it was the stigma of young marriage and divorce.
How young are we talking about? Because young marriage, I mean, there's 12-year-olds getting married in certain parts of the world.
Yeah, well, we're focused on here in America.
America.
Yeah.
So 16.
So, no, like fucking 19,
You get
21.
married. There are kids that are getting married. I had a ex-girlfriend who got married at 16 because she ended up sneaking out with her boyfriend or whatever, and they were Jehovah's Witness.
Really?
So yeah, so they were forced to get married by the grandparents. Got them together, basically saying, "Well, if you guys are already fornicating, essentially, you guys have to get married." And then the boyfriend moved. They broke up. They split up. They stayed married. They never got an annulment. They never got a divorce. And I ended up fucking telling this chick, "Oh yeah, I'll help you pay for that divorce and shit." And then of course shit went sour in that relationship. Luckily I didn't pay for that. but this shit fucking happens to this day with people in our generation.
Yeah, I'm curious because I
Here.
think my mother got married at 16. She had me at 15, and she got married apparently after she had me. So
Yeah, I mean, well,
16.
that's the thing is that you do have, or if you get pregnant, you can get married. Unfortunately, like if you get knocked up, the natural inclination for people is to unite the parents in that situation, regardless of age. So if you have two 14-year-olds knock each other up, the boy knocks out. Well, no, not obviously anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows with what they identify as? It could be the boy getting knocked up by the girl, if they so choose to be engendered in such ways.
Yeah, it could be the boy getting knocked up by the boy.
True.
Or the girl getting knocked up by the boy.
Or the Peter knocked up by the pan.
Ooh.
Don't know what we're saying anymore. Where was I going with this?
But yeah, no, young marriages. You wanted to know how young, and I'm like, well, I'm talking fucking like early 20s to...
That's not that young.
Yeah, but it's like people get married like...
I mean, I said early 20s still isn't. Like, I was married at 24, which is young. But we were pregnant. And the only reason I think it worked out in our situation was I had slept around so much, and I always let my heart lead me, so I was always looking to fall in love. I fell in love with everybody I dated. But I was also very horny.
Yeah.
That's the problem with that age, is that you can't control your libido or your own fucking emotions as much.
Mhm.
As we say all the time, the prefrontal cortex isn't developed till then, till your late 20s as a male, mid 20s as a female. So anything before that, you end up fucking being led by your dick pretty much. So it's really hard to stay focused. And the only thing that focused me was the fact that we ended up pregnant, and I fucking dedicated my whole fucking life to saying that I was going to be a good dad and a good husband when I had a kid. So the second I found out we were pregnant, I was like, okay, you locked me down. Good for you. Not that she wanted me at that point forever, but I wore her down after Jax was born, I think. She realized I was a keeper and that I was... Because you need to keep... And my wife knew me in high school, so she knew me when my libido was at its peak and when it was just fucking all about hooking up with a girl. So she saw me jump around and flirt from girl to girl, just like all these other girls in high school saw me. So I wouldn't have fucking trusted me either in that situation. And then we hook up for a 2-3 month period and then end up pregnant. And it's like, well, what the fuck? Like, now I've hitched my wagon to this fucking horse. He's the horse with his dick out all the fucking time, looking at the mares. Like, I understood the compulsion, but so it probably took like maybe the first year of my son being born, maybe the first year and a half, for her to realize, like, no matter what the difficulty was, I was going to do everything to support them both and be honorable to them both. But that comes from the fact that I had experienced enough of life to feel I was ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a fucking 5-year-old man and you've never lived away from mom and dad, and you've never fucking had a serious girlfriend, but whether it's because you're an incel, you're too, let's face it, there are some people that are just not attractive enough physically, and their fucking mentality isn't strong enough to overcome that. Because there are plenty of ugly people that fucking end up either with fucking money and getting a girl, much less an attractive girl, but whoever, like. And then the problem is that the fucking society now expects everybody to hook up with somebody so fucking beautiful and so attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even the ugliest fucker will go out and say, oh, I don't know why that chick doesn't like me. Like, dude, you're going for a 10 and you're like a 2.5. Like, you got scoliosis, you got acne, you got back knee, you got fucking no hair anymore because you've been receding your hairline since you were fucking 15, and we don't know what the fuck color your eyes are because you've never opened them. You got that weird squint thing going on, you know? Like, there's a lot of people with problems. Some people just ugly. But if you're happy and you exude happiness, you could find happiness with somebody. The problem is the people that are just too fucking ugly, they can't fucking get over it, and then they just fucking hate themselves more than they hate the fucking situation. And yeah. You're pretty fucking ugly. You've hooked up with girls. How do you do it?
Yeah, that's what you think.
You're so cute. No, you got a teddy bear coat. You have like a perfect round, like, Santa Claus face. Like, for girls with a daddy complex, I could see how they'd want you.
Yeah, and why I go for the girls I go for at that age.
With the daddy complex?
Yeah.
Because you're a fucking creep. You can get a 45-year-old stripper with daddy issues too, you know.
Yeah, but it's not gonna be where it's supposed to be. It's just gonna, like, sag. And
so you're never looking to get married or anything?
I don't believe in it.
You don't believe in it? So why don't you just pay for sex?
I have before.
Have you?
Yeah.
You've paid for sex? Where?
Yes,
in the United
Hawaii.
States?
Yeah.
In the United... Were you a Backpage user?
When I was on a dry spell in college, yeah.
Oh, I thought Backpage was like a recent thing.
No.
I guess not. Fuck, world. Fuck. Backpage was a while back. I never used it. I just had friends that had mentioned it to me. I probably didn't know about it till like 5 years ago. And then like a year later it was shut down, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so at what point did you pay for sex? How did that come about?
I was young and...
How young?
I think.
I mean, if we go by years ago, you were 4, right? Because you say you're what?
I think I was 18, if not 19, the first time.
Why would you pay for sex at that age? Just out of curiosity?
Well, because I had this mentality.
That grossed me out. The idea of that always grossed me out until I heard of like the red light districts and stuff where like they actually have health care and pap smears every once in a while. Like, no, man. No, that's nasty. So what brought this about?
No, because I had this mentality, and you can blame movies for this, but I had this mentality that I'm a Marine, right? And that's what I do. I go to foreign countries and I fuck bitches. I pay for fucking hookers every now and then. That's what I'm supposed to do. I would tell my sergeants, I'm like, it's part of my job,
part of the culture,
and they're
the
like,
Marines.
no, it's not.
You're the only one spreading this. What? You've seen too many weird movies. Well, what Full Metal Jacket, I guess, right? Is where they no, too big. And then she shows it to him like, oh, okay. So fucking crazy.
But yeah, that's where it came about. And I had one sergeant fucking yelling at me like in disbelief. He was like, why would you do that? I'm like, because it's part of our job. No, it's not.
Did you wrap up?
Of course.
You say of course, but
No,
nothing you ever talk about on here makes any sense to me.
No, because
your decisions in life are not of course decisions. I would like to point that out now.
Because when you're in, you have to sign a paper saying that you will use a rubber every fucking time.
That's ridiculous.
So so that's what I did. And I would bring it up to
we're having people. Performance issues.
Yeah, I would bring it up to some of these Marines, and because they'd be like, yeah, I fucking raw dogged her, and I'm like, you have to write, and they're like, no, you don't have to sign anything you don't agree with, and I'm like, they keep telling me that. So yes, young couples getting married, especially in the military, because they want to get out of the barracks because they don't want to clean their fucking rooms. And I have here my first fucking bullet point. 30 years old is the average for couples going through their first divorce. 60% of all divorces involve individuals 25 to 39. 42 to 45%.
Well, what did I just say earlier, though, and what that we harp on all the time is that that's around the age where your prefrontal cortex finally stops developing. So you stop being so manic and doubting your own fucking emotions all the time. Because when you're manic and your hormones haven't settled down, you're going from happy to sad all the time, and you recognize that it's an internal issue. And it's not necessarily a mentality issue. It is literally a physical issue with the chemical structure and the chemical secretions within yourself. So by the time you're 25 to 30, all that shit is finally calmed down. You start to realize, oh no, it really is fucked up that he goes out playing video games until 11 o'clock every night with his friends when I'm here at home with the babies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. No, it really is fucked up that I'm working all the time. She's at home all day watching the kid. But then by the time I get home after working a 12-hour shift, there's no dinner on the table. The house is a mess. And like, well, I've been watching the kid all day. It's like, well, the kid at least takes a 2-hour nap. You couldn't have done the dishes then? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, shit like that happens when you become confident within yourself. When all these emotions start to fucking regulate themselves chemically, you can realize the external factors that are actual actual actions against your happiness. So it makes complete sense to me that people would get divorced by the time they're 25, 30 if they haven't already experienced. Now, the thing, again, I can only speak from my personal experience. My personal experience is that I did a lot of fucking drugs. And so I had an even more extreme sway back and forth of my emotions constantly happening. So even at 25, 30, the regular emotional swings that get to most people, I was already calming down on because I was starting to sober up. I was doing less cocaine and fucking not. Well, I was drinking more, but I was doing less cocaine, basically. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
So I've heard.
And bath salts too. Bath salts fucked with me for a little while. I had done ecstasy a few times at that point. That was pretty much it. I really didn't get too hard up into anything other than cocaine and bath salts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bath salts was only for like a 3-month stint, though. The cocaine was like a several year problem. I mean, but it's a problem as much as like people have a drinking problem when they drink, enough to get them through the day, but they're still functional. Like that's always. Anyway, back to the point is that at 25 to 30 years old, you start to understand who you are and what you want in life a hell of a lot better because your body physically allows you to.
Yep.
So that's my 2 cents on that point, on that first bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're 35 minutes in, we got through one. What's your next one? Or
Okay.
did you want to continue? Did you have any thoughts on that?
No. Well, I can't speak on the matter because I've never been married, let alone divorced. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now I have family that has been married at different ages. Like I've got family that has been married at different ages, all the way from their first marriage at 19 to their marriage at 22, marriage at 30, and others. And really only maybe let's say 2 out of every 7 marriages I know of in the last 10 years have been successful. Like, it's not great odds.
Yeah. I have something here about odds. I guess I am reading it. But, yeah. Did I say 42 to 45% of first marriages end in divorce? 60% of second marriages end in divorce.
60% of second marriages?
60% of second marriages end in divorce.
I wonder if that includes people that get divorced and then remarry the same person.
I had a stat on that. Where'd it go? 6% of couples who married and divorced ended up remarrying each other. 72% of reunited partners stayed together.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That is impressive, actually.
So now you know, if you get divorced,
Right.
wait a few years and then remarry.
Okay, this one might be a little too close to home for me to continue talking about.
Okay.
So let's go, because I've got, like I said, family members in all these divorce situations. I don't want to have anybody like, hey man, I think they were talking. I think your family member was talking about you on their podcast. Like, I'm not trying to blow up nobody's spot, but it is a concerning thing because I truly think it has a lot to do with the prefrontal cortex being developed. I just don't. I think. Ooh, my son's singing his ass off. Okay, sorry. I think it has something to do. Like, for instance, young marriages, when they're like 12, 13-year-old arranged marriages in other countries, like those tend to be for life because they're more of a contractual obligation rather than a love one, right? And then they grow to love each other because they've spent all these experiences with each other throughout time and they've learned to work with each other. Those, I think, can be successful because you go through the more tumultuous stages of growing up together. You're going from the beginning of puberty to the end of it, so you're constantly checking in with each other through that. We don't do that in the United States. It's if you're put together at 12, 13 years old, is because of something dramatic, some fucking traumatizing situation. But not to say that it's not traumatizing in the other countries, just it's socially acknowledged here that it's a traumatic thing for kids that young to get together permanently. You know what I mean? You're looking at me like I've lost you. Like,
No. Like, how can you say that?
You're blabbering again, Tony. You could say something too.
No, I'm listening.
No, you're not.
I am. I'm like, oh,
I'm not even listening to
how
myself
very
anymore.
interesting.
How has this podcast gone on
Kids
so
in
many
India
episodes?
and all that stuff? Oh, because we try. We really try.
Do we?
Yes. At least that's what we keep telling ourselves.
Alright. So what was the point of the question?
What question?
What was the question?
No, the thing I brought up the whole the odds
Percentages.
of getting remarried and fucking ending up.
Oh yeah.
happily
So I was saying
remarried.
like, so if they're young and they get divorced, if they were married early enough, and then they realize what they went and they spend enough time together, and then they get divorced for a short time, and then realize like what they were missing. I don't know. What do you think about that whole like you don't know what you got till it's gone? Is it just punch drunk love or what's it called? No, that's not what it's called. It's yeah, when you break up with somebody, you're like want to rebound with the same person.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's one of the 4 stages.
it
I
of
think
grief?
yes.
The
grief
why?
and then denial.
Why?
You're denying that fucking. I don't know. I don't pay attention to the stages when I'm in that mode. But
What mode?
The
Beast mode?
I just got dumped mode.
Oh no. No.
Yeah.
What stage do you go to, Frank, when you get dumped?
Well, originally I would just drink, and that's all I would do. Like fucking wake up, drink, pass out. Wake up, drink, pass out. And
This podcast is making me want to drink and pass out. Yeah, I feel what's going on here?
What? No, you asked me
I'm dying,
what I fucking
Frank.
go through
Frank, I don't want to
when
do
I
this anymore, Frank.
when I get dumped.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Okay, take a nap. I'll just read my
Yeah, can you
fucking-
continue this podcast? 'Cause
Yeah, I'll just read my stupid
we're
notes
where this is.
and see if anybody fucking cares enough to listen. So, what the fuck did I fucking write? Most commonly reported major contributors to divorce were lack of commitment, infidelity, and conflict arguing. So, I guess the whole, what's it called? Irreconcilable differences, I think. Infidelity, domestic violence, and substance are most common final straws. So if I were to ever fucking get married, the
Why
final
is it-
straw
why are-
would be that I'm a fucking drunk.
This is so depressing.
Why? Because I'm talking about fucking divorce.
Yeah. Because there's people no doubt listening to this and realizing, like, yes, I know you're talking about me. I can't leave, though. We've been through so much, and I just can't leave now. Where will I go? What will I do? I have no home. Like,
Yeah, but there's hope.
this
because
shit happens, though.
72% of reunited partners stayed together. So there's hope.
Yeah, but how
You
many
know?
people
No
got back
doubt.
together? 6%?
Yeah.
Yeah, not much hope.
Well, if you focus on how small that number is, yeah.
Well, you have a 50% chance of it working out in the first place.
I think I saw that stat and I fucking ignored it. No, I think I did. But yeah, so if
I think it has something to do with being humble, man.
does it?
Like, you need to be humbled towards the other sex. Like, I grew up with 4 sisters,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like I was humbled all the time to respect them and recognize when I was being chauvinistic, I guess, to a degree as a child. And now as an adult, I realize, like, half the shit they were bitching about, like, it's a double standard. Like, bitch, you're a fucking cunt, and you're treating me like I'm the asshole. Like, we're both assholes here, own up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and now I'm not so chivalrous with my sisters as I used to be, but of course I'd never call them a bitch or a cunt in real life, because they would fucking stab me in the highs. In the ositos.
Uh-huh. The ones you love squished with tortilla and salt?
What?
Eyes.
Oh, squished with tortillas and salt. That's a reference to our barbacoa episode. Cabeza de cabrito.
Yeah.
Head of goat.
You're
Baby
all-
goat.
You're all, I hate it when there's no head, and I'm like,
I hate it when they don't give you the head.
yeah, and I'm like, I agree,
They
but we're
don't
not
get
on the same page.
That was somebody else's post. Somebody posted that they were having a cabrito, baby goat for a barbecue, but they had the head chopped off while it was splayed open on the grill. And I was like, man, I hate it when they don't give you head.
And I'm like, I agree, but we're not on the same page.
Because you don't like it. Anyway, what was the point of this whole podcast, Frank?
Talking about marriages and divorce.
I mean, it's over now. This is the end of the podcast. But what was I feel like we did. I don't think we talked about marriage and divorce. I think, yes, you brought up like 3 points at the end there. Why marriage and divorce? Why is that such a fascinating topic for you?
No, it was something that I fucking saw, and I'm like, oh, maybe we can talk about that. And then right there, you texted me, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, this? And you're like, yeah, we'll talk about that. I'm like, okay.
I'm sure it wasn't with that enthusiasm, but okay. All right. Well, this has been the Completely Inappropriate Podcast, and we haven't said shit other than a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
So, Frank, what do you want to tell the people to end this off with? Any last words of wisdom before the sign-off, I guess?
I got nothing.
Yeah, I could tell. All right, so, well, be happy, fuckers. Do the best you can. What do we tell the people?
Be excellent to each other.
Find you happy. Try and be better today than you were yesterday. And, bye. Bye? Yeah. Bye, everybody. Bye, Frank.
Oh. Okay.